A very warm welcome to you, and thank you so much for joining our Homeopathy 24/7 podcast. We are going to be speaking to an array of international guests who will share their knowledge and experiences of homeopathy with you. We will discuss all types of subjects such as remedies, symptoms, and stories of health. No matter where you are with your homeopathic journey, we aim to inspire you on your quest to natural health and living. The podcast is brought to you by Mary Greensmith, the founder of Homeopathy 24/7, which is a global platform connecting you with a homeopath wherever you are in the world, 24 hours a day. So let's get started with today's chat. Please welcome Mary Greensmith.
Hello, lovely to see you all again. Thank you so much for joining us. And I am really pleased to be able to welcome back Ekta Kaur Ross. Lovely to see you, Ekta.
Hello.
It's so lovely having you join us just so that we can talk about homeopathy. I do feel the luckiest person in the world that we can just sit and have a chat.
Exactly. And I just enjoy homeopathy as a passion. So for me, it's not even work. It's
No.
yes, let's talk about it.
Yeah, let's do it. So what I've done, Ekta, is I went to your menopause group because you have got the most amazing community on Facebook talking about homeopathy, helping people through menopause. So presumably that's from perimenopause through until after menopause.
Through after menopause. Yeah. So it's like, no one woman has exactly the same journey. And so it's usually around from mid-40s to mid-50s is what we would say is your menopause journey. But we forget that there's a lot of things that you are left with if unaddressed after you've gone through the menopause, and you may be in your 60s or 70s. And there are things that could be done to ease that discomfort.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess that also might occur if people have had hormones or HRT or something like that and kind of have put it off for a few years and then are suffering later as well.
Yeah. So, you know, it's 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 not the same. What I always say when some women ask questions, oh, well, she had that. Oh, should I have that? We have to accept the fact that every single case is individual when we come to looking at ladies in menopause or the menopause journey, because we're counting in the years before, which we refer to as perimenopause, and some ladies are in it from late 30s.
Yes.
I went through the menopause journey quite early on compared to average statistics. So I always say any woman walking through the clinic doors, I don't park menopause looking at their date of birth. I have it in my forefront
Yeah.
and try and account for everything going on.
I think you're absolutely right. And I think too much emphasis is put on age, isn't it? Because you're quite right. We do all see people come to us for homeopathy in their late 30s. And it could be any time at all. So yeah, brilliant. Just to make that quite clear that if anything strange is starting to happen or whatever, come and see Ekta at the menopause homeopathy for menopause group.
Yeah. Help yourself to help yourself.
Exactly, because let's just spend a couple of minutes as well explaining that we are not running the Facebook groups in order to prescribe for people, in order to say, here, take this remedy, because it's so much more complex than that, isn't it? And what we want people to do is realize homeopathy can help, but this is what you need to learn about it. And this is what you can do yourself. And this is when you need help.
Exactly. I'd like to see the Facebook group as, opening the conversation about homeopathy, getting your curiosity up about homeopathy, which is why I love it when some of our members put, I took this and this is how I felt after, because that will empower
Yeah.
those who are unsure, unfamiliar, wavering. Do I try homeopathy? Don't I try homeopathy? Because the whole purpose of the Facebook group is about making you curious, making you want to ask questions about homeopathy, and then empowering you to step forward and try it.
Yeah, yeah. And just last week on the podcast, if you haven't caught it yet, I was talking to a client who actually had gone the other way, and she's been using homeopathy all of the time. She's actually just gone and started a regime of HRT. And then she comes back to me and says, okay, look, this bit's working, but this bit is rubbish. I need homeopathy. And it's really useful to actually see that homeopathy is always complementary to whatever you're doing and wherever you are in your life.
Yeah. So not to fear, not to worry, oh, it's one or the other.
Yeah.
Homeopathy can work as an alternative medicine and as a complementary medicine. So I have diabetic patients who also are going through menopause and they're on their insulin. They can enjoy and reap the benefits of homeopathy as a complement to their whole health system, their whole healthcare system. So I always say to people, give it a go, see what it's like. No professional homeopath is going to tell you to stop your insulin or stop your mainstream medication. They will not. Join the homeopathy treatment plan or how we approach it, and then see when you go for your regular checkups with your mainstream doctor, watch and see what they say. Very often they'll say, oh, you don't need as much anymore. Oh, your blood test shows a lower count in the problem area.
Yes.
Or you can turn it the other way around. A better, your blood tests are showing, better results. So as a consequence of taking this complementary homeopathic treatment, you are able to reduce your medication, which is what really I aim for, because that means you have less side effects and your body is self-healing more, which is a more longer lasting resolution to the problem.
Yeah, yes, you're absolutely right. And it's such a good way to be actually thinking about what we're talking about here, really. It's as something that you can do with whatever else you're doing. Just learn about it, because once you've learned about it, then you have a choice. So let's go to the first question from your group.
Yep.
I was wondering if there are specific remedies that could help with acid reflux, so increased acid production during the menopause period. Do we look at the totality of symptoms, or for remedies that have an affinity with female hormones, or for remedies that have an affinity with acid reflux? This lady is saying that she's tried several remedies so far, but nothing has happened. So it's a really interesting question, that, because she's looking at things both ways. So let's start with what questions we would want to be asking, because there's a lot of information here that we haven't got.
Yeah. So you have your two approaches. So it's you're suffering right now, and it's almost like you would like symptomatic treatment. So you could go to remedies that have a good reputation for helping with acid reflux, which would be something like Nux vomica or Robinia or Natsolf. They will help with that feeling of acid reflux as we understand it. However, why is it happening? And treating it symptomatically will give you some relief, but it may come back because we haven't dealt with the reason why it's happening. And during the menopausal journey, this is one of the symptoms that do come up quite regularly with women, and that fluctuating and changing production of our estrogen, progesterone affects a lot of the mechanics in our body. And it's almost like these two hormones are almost like the oil in our system. And as the oils are reducing, lots of things are starting to happen. And So you could approach, so the question is about acid reflux, and she's tried several remedies. How did she choose those remedies? Was it a conclusion of looking at everything about her as a holistic approach, or did she just pick on the acid reflux symptom? And that's your two choices on how you're going to deal with this case.
Of course. And of course, let's just explain those in detail, that actually, if we're looking at the symptomatic problem, we're looking at the acute stage of it, the symptom that is now. And so we could treat acutely. That's a remedy that is well indicated for what you're feeling right now. And you might well have those remedies in your first aid kit and be able to take them quite easily as you need it. It'll help you today and tomorrow, but it might come back next week, as you said, because we don't know what the cause of it is. And then the other reason is it actually because you're in the menopause time, and because those hormones are all unbalanced, in which case we would need to know other details, wouldn't we? We would need to know other symptoms to go much deeper, because also, as well as obviously going through menopause, which we know could be for quite a few years, there might be other things going on as well. So perhaps we need to know more about digestion. We need to know more about appetite. We need to know more about what changes you've made in your diet. Are you drinking more alcohol? Are you drinking more, other things? What else is happening? There's so much, isn't there, that could be the cause of this symptom that you're experiencing more of just now.
Yeah, so you would like to have a complete sort of body understanding of what is going on, and most importantly, what has changed.
Yeah.
So what has changed recently? Do you get more headaches? Are you less thirsty? Do you feel more congested? Do you feel more dry? We would be looking at, as I said, the recent change in things that have happened, and that would help us understand holistically what is wrong, what is going on, and then we would try and find the best matching remedy to your whole self and not just the feeling of the acid reflux.
Yeah, and really important what you mentioned there about what has changed, because it might be that they've moved house, they've moved to a new area, they're shopping at a different shop, they've changed their cooking habits. It could be anything, and we can't obviously indicate, and that's why on the groups we can't put, oh, take this remedy, because actually we haven't got that health history, have we? We haven't got that information in order to make that assumption. And probably if we looked at acid reflux in the repertory, we would probably have over 100 remedies in which might help.
Yeah, I can think of so many remedies, lycopodium, magphos, carbo-veg. All of these remedies help with acid reflux when they holistically match the individual. And, the individual may have come with something else. They may be feeling a sense of depression, or they may be feeling joint pains. It could be anything in the spectrum of problems. And acid reflux is one of the symptoms that they're feeling.
And we haven't mentioned medication. They might have changed a medication. That might be creating something, but also they might be eating something that has been manufactured in a different way than they are used to. And we are seeing such a lot of this at the moment, aren't we? As food production changes, and it is changing so quickly now in different parts of the world. There are certain additives that they are adding, and they've changed the way they label them now, haven't they? So that you're not so sure if they're an additive or not. But we've got a lot of GM foods going out there that are going into things. We've got an awful lot of substances that go in order to keep the product longer. There might be one thing that is suddenly in 3 things that you're eating that wasn't there last year.
Yeah, correct. I have a patient who's actually a young man who's come to me for candida, this is a really perfect example. It's a salsa he buys. He loves his salsa. And then he realized that the salsa he bought from a particular store had changed its brand and would make him have acid reflux. Because we had a real in-depth conversation about what food he had changed recently. And although he was with me for the candida detox kind of protocols, he was really wanting to know about what can I do with this? What can I do with this? But that really brought home to me that how much food has changed, that, as you said, the food production, subtle different E numbers, colors, how one could cope with them before and now suddenly can't eat them.
No.
So
It is changing. We notice quite a lot because my husband has a hernia, and he can eat curries till they all the time when we produce them at home. But he cannot go out and have a curry. It just is something MSG. Absolutely not. His body just cannot cope with it at all, and so. What I love about this journey, this homeopathic journey, is that we start to ask questions. And you mentioned that right at the beginning. Be curious, because it's your body and you need to know what fuel it needs to work.
And it's unique to you.
Absolutely right. Yes. What you can cope with is completely different than what other people can cope with.
I also say to patients, it's almost like a bucket system, like with gluten, wheat, we can take a certain amount, and once the bucket's full, it's overflowed, and we're into discomfort, and we're into bloating, and we're into all sorts of concern, unpleasant feelings. So some of our buckets are a little bit deeper than the others, but we all at some point get to the top and the bucket's full. And then that's it, we've got our problems, our digestive problems going on. So think of it, as clean food as possible is the best, but it is difficult. And, the way everyone lives and people have different limitations, it's not always that easy. So imagine your bucket, and then if you think you filled your bucket up yesterday, be wary the following day.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And talking of that gluten though, because gluten is a topic that needs talking about such a lot, because a lot of people don't realize that the bread now, the gluten content in bread is so different than it was 30 years ago because of the way the wheat is grown. And because we need more wheat per acre, we have a lot more gluten per slice of bread than we used to have per loaf of bread years ago. So just as you said, well, I used to be able to cope with it. Why is it now that everybody suddenly is intolerant of gluten? It's not. It's just that the food that we're eating is so much more gluten than it used to be. And your bucket is full. You explained it so well.
We have digressed, so
we have. Let's go back. But funnily enough, the next questions are about food as well. Hungry all the time. I eat dinner, half an hour later, I'm hungry again. Can you recommend what do I need to do here? This is something that does happen a lot during menopause, isn't it?
Yeah, it's that I'm fully guilty of this one. So somebody like this good person would come in. There's a lot more we need to know.
Yes.
It's going through everything about yourself. So you're feeling hungry. What else is going on in your body? What else has changed recently? And we do the whole thing again. We approach the case holistically, and so we don't have a magic pill that we're going to give to you that's going to stop you feeling hungry. That is not the solution. The solution is to get to the inner self of you, find out everything about you, your digestive tract, what's changed, your ENT, are you susceptible more to coughs, colds, headaches, skin condition, things like that. Your mental emotional plane, has that changed? And then looking at that and finding holistically the best remedy for you in homeopathic terms will have that positive consequence of you not feeling hungry all the time, because you will feel more settled when
Yeah.
you get your most matched homeopathic remedy.
Yes, that's right. And it makes sense, doesn't it? Because as you're learning about the endocrine system, and suddenly that you're realizing that actually your hormone balance is responsible for your temperature, for your appetite, for your thirst, for everything that's going on in your body. So it makes sense that as your hormones fluctuate, your appetite is going to change, your thirst is going to change, and your temperature is going to change. We we know what that can result in, but it is lovely having warmer feet. If you've always had cold feet, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And I said to people, because I also had my hot flushes, and I have had homeopathy to help me. And I'm left with an occasional sudden burst of heat, which I actually love. It empowers me and it makes me feel woman, and helps me with colder
Yes, yeah.
weather as well.
We're sitting here in the snow here in the UK today. Yeah, no, absolutely right. It's not all bad news, is it? Sometimes it's quite useful. And this question actually is the same answer to the one that's asking, what are you all doing about keeping your skin clear? Because as you said, some of us might be getting warmer or be more thirsty or be more hungry. Other people might be finding that they've got more eruptions on the skin. It's the same answer, isn't it?
It's the same. And remember with skin, when we think in homeopathic terms, the skin is the outer manifestation of discomfort inside the body. So when you feel your skin is not right, or there has been a change, that means there is something going on inside your body that needs a resolution, that needs easing. So sometimes women will come to me and say, oh, I want to get rid of my acne, or some kind of, skin condition. And I always say, you are my perfect patient for holistic treatment, because I really need to know what else is going on.
Yes.
And if we can look at that, we will resolve and ease your skin discomfort. So that is one of the symptoms where I always think, don't rush for symptomatic treatment in a skin problem, because that definitely is just symptomatic treatment. You might make it feel a bit better, but it will be back, and then it will be back. Whereas if we resolve it from deeper inside, which is what we refer to as constitutional treatment, then you are going to get a longer lasting resolution and you will feel so much better.
While we're talking about that, let's just discuss constitutional treatment, because that is something that is very difficult to do by yourself for yourself, isn't it? Because it's hard to see the whole picture, because we're so biased about ourselves, aren't we?
Yes. You're too close. It's like quite often when I get mums and dads who are really familiar with homeopathy
Yeah.
and enjoy homeopathy, and then they would like to do constitutional treatment for their children. And I say to them, they are not best placed because they're emotionally involved.
Yes.
They have their own feelings about how the child must be feeling.
Yes.
They will impose their own thoughts and their own reasons and explanations. You need to be, we say, an unprejudiced observer. So a person comes in and they explain what they're feeling. And for somebody, you know, the acne in the face is of no consequence. And for some people, it is dreadfully awful for them. It's exactly the same acne, but two very different feelings about it.
Yes.
And so constitutional treatment will look at how do you feel about it? And, how are you thinking you need to cope with it? And so that's why constitutional treatment will be about everything.
Okay.
So, my sister suffers from joint pains, and one person suffering from joint pains will be very angry about it, and some people will feel very sad about it, and some people will just cope. So it's very different emotions, but all three have very similarly described joint pains. So in the homeopathic world, we would be taking each one of them separately as a unique individual. And quite often they would not have the same remedy. Their mental emotional state and how they cope with the pain, how they deal with it, how they think about it is usually what influences the remedy we're going to give them.
It's so interesting, isn't it? And so they can all have different remedies because of how they're presenting.
And they may have exactly the same description of the joint pain. So in our menopausal journey, quite often women feel joint pains,
Yes.
and it's that the fluctuating estrogen. I always say estrogen is like that oiling of the joints, and as you are producing less of it, you start getting more achy, and the joints, you could almost say, are being rubbing. This is in very simplistic terms, and joint pains is quite a frequent symptom reported during menopause. And it's not that we've all developed arthritis of some sort. It is this cause of the less estrogen squirting around our body. So again, yes, we have some lovely homeopathic remedies that help with joint pain, like Rustox, Ruta, good old Arnica, Causticum. There's several that you could take for symptomatic relief. But if we could approach it from a constitutional point of view, which means we're looking at you holistically, we are probably going to ease that discomfort a lot better for you with a longer lasting resolution rather than help you for a day and a half. It would be a more longer lasting solution.
And help your body rebalance.
Yeah. I like to use the word reset. I like to balance. Yeah. Reset you.
Yeah. Amazing. Ekta, that has been absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We've gone into a lot of detail, really, explaining how we want to answer the questions that people have.
Yeah. So keep the curiosity up, listeners and viewers. And there's so much out there that you can do with homeopathy. You can do it as complementary medicine, and you can do it as an alternative. The important thing is try it. You can't go wrong. Try it.
Brilliant. We will put Ekta's links down below so that you can go and visit the Facebook community. You can also go straight onto Ekta's website and find more about her team as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mary.
It was so lovely to talk with Ekta, wasn't it? And just go through those symptoms. Now, next week, I'm going to welcome Sharda, and Sharda will be talking with us about the Schleusler cell salts. Tissue salts, same name as the cell salts, and we'll be going through how you can use these to maintain health, to build immunity, and to rebalance your system so that you can always be as healthy as you possibly can. We'll be looking at a few of the different cell salts and looking at how to use them, when to use them, and why to use them. And of course, we will be answering some of your questions about the cell salts. Look forward to seeing you there. Take care. I do hope you've enjoyed these episodes, and I do hope you can subscribe to our channels. Now, there are various ways for you to listen to our podcast or watch it on video on YouTube. So whether it's iTunes, Spotify, or YouTube, please do subscribe and please do leave us a review. If you leave us a review on these platforms, then more people will see our podcast. We just want more people to share the joy of homeopathy. It's a choice that everybody should know about. Please do everything you can to help us help more people.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode and look forward to listening to our next one. Please don't forget to follow our podcast on your chosen channel, and please do leave us a review so we can continue to share homeopathy with as many people as possible. If you do have any questions, please do reach out to us on any of our social platforms mentioned in the show notes. We at Homeopathy 24/7 hope to empower you on your natural health journey.